Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on the second Maiden's tragedy, and we get to hear from Votarius today in Act 1, Scene 2. Now, Votarius is a friend of Anselmus, who is the brother of Gavianus, who is the king that was just recently overthrown. Anselmus and Votarius were chatting, and Votarius was thinking that Anselmus should maybe be grieving a little bit more for what his brother has recently lost. But Anselmus was like, what did he lose other than all of this responsibility? Like, now he gets to just live in his mind and imagine things and create things, and he's living in the same place as his wife, and she has all these servants for him and everything. He's like, but who's looking out for me? And Votarius was like, well, you have a wife who's lovely and chaste and kind. And Anselmus was like, aha, but is she? Because she's never been tested. And it's really easy to stay faithful if you never have any other opportunities, but if she was given another opportunity, would she actually take it? He's like, I need you to help me find that out. I need you to flirt with my wife to see if she's actually faithful to me. And Votarius says, you put to me a business that will do my words more shame than ever they got honor among women. Lascivious courtings among sinful mistresses come ever seasonably, please, best. But let the boldest ruffian touch the ear of modest ladies with adulterous sounds. Their very looks confound him and force grace into that cheek where impudence sets her seal. That work is never undertook with courage that makes his master blush. However, sir, what profit can return to you by knowing that which you do already with more toil? Must a man needs, in having a rich diamond, put it between a hammer and an anvil, and not believing the true worth and value, break it in pieces to find out the goodness, and in the finding, lose it? Good sir, think on it. Nor does it taste of wit to try their strengths that are created sickly, nor of manhood. We ought not to put blocks in women's ways, for some too often fall upon plain ground. Let me dissuade you, sir. So Votarius is not on board with this plan. He's like, first of all, that's shameful to me if I start hitting on another man's wife. Like, that's not cool. I could say those things to, say, a woman of ill repute, but if I say these things to a honest, chaste, faithful, married woman, like, she's gonna make a spectacle out of me, she's gonna shame me, I'll never be able to show my face again. And then he continues on and he's like, but don't you already know that she's good? I mean, you have a diamond, and if you have a really good diamond, do you have to smash it in between a hammer and an anvil in order to see if it's a real diamond or not? Or can you just enjoy the diamond that you have because it's beautiful and it sparkles? Whereas if you have to test it, you might actually lose it. He's like, this is really not cool to mess with women this way, and especially to mess with your wife this way. Like, you might end up just losing her. She might just, metaphorically, she might just trip and fall on the ground if we put something in front of her. It doesn't mean if we put something in front of her, she's going to take it up and enjoy it. He's like, this is a bad idea. And Anselmus is like, so you'd rather I have a stranger do this for me? Don't I have any friends around here? And Votarius is like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And then the wife starts to enter, and Anselmus is like, oh, here she comes. I'll let you chat with her. And as he's sneaking away, he's like, I'm gonna eavesdrop on what's going on here. So he kind of hides himself somewhere where it's not obvious, but he can see what's going on. And Votarius gets to have a little aside where he's like, I'm gonna try, but I'm not really gonna try. Like, I'm just gonna, maybe say one thing that's a tiny bit off color. I'm not actually gonna flirt with her, and then I can tell him that she was faithful. So she comes in and she's like, oh, Votarius, how are you? He's like, I'm well, how are you? And she said, have you seen my husband? And he's like, yeah, well, he just left. And she's like, well, was he with anybody? And he's like, no, he's by himself. And she's like, oh, he's grieving so much for his brother that he just spends spends all of his time alone. And Votarius has a quick little aside where he's like, see, all she's thinking about is him. He comes back to her and he's like, yes, he's grieving. This is what we do when our family members die. We owe them this debt of grief and blah, blah, blah. And she is going to have some thoughts on that in a monologue that we will hear tomorrow. So I will see you then. Mwah.